First of all, I want to thank you guys, thank you all for tuning in tonight, Late Night with Locks. I can't thank you for all the love you guys have shown the show. As I said, this thing has really morphed into something that I really enjoy doing because it gives us a chance to connect during these trying times as we continue to work through the pandemic. I want to thank the guys from last show. We had Vontae Davis, was really excited about having Vontae on, talking about his children's book and his project. And also want to thank Ty Johnson, who represented the Terps in a big time way with the Detroit Lions as a rookie. Really proud of you, Ty Johnson. You're a Terp forever. Anytime you miss these shows live, again, you can catch them on NBC Sports Washington, the platform there. You can also watch them on our YouTube page with Maryland Athletics, as well as the Hear the Turtle podcast reruns these things as well. Again, tonight is a big night, especially in the DMV. I know there's a couple of things coming out, Something in the Water, the documentary on Prince George's County basketball. I'm looking forward to watching that tonight. Not that I'm plugging that or not, but I'm excited to be able to have an opportunity to watch that. It just goes to show you the type of players, whether it's football, basketball, baseball, anything DMV, we're all about. So, again, I'm excited to watch Something in the Water, the documentary that starts tonight on Showtime at 9 p.m. I want to always continue to thank all of our frontline workers for the job that they have done, especially the healthcare professionals as they continue just to fight through and continue to provide us with all the resources that we need to work through this pandemic. And again, putting their health at risk for our comfort and needs. So thank you to all of our healthcare providers and all of our delivery people, our medical professionals, everybody that has really worked hard to help us get through it. We're going to get started here. This guest here, I get excited about it because I'm kind of a fanboy. This guy is a Maryland native, a guy that graduated from Aberdeen High School, was drafted in the second round in Major League Baseball, was Rookie of the Year in '82, a 19-time All-Star, World Series champion on the '83 Orioles team, two-time AL MVP. I mean, I can go on and on and on to talk about the Iron Man, but to have Cal Ripken Jr. be able to join Late Night with Locks, really excited. Again, Baltimore Oriole, number 8, was retired, was a Hall of Famer who went in with, I think, the 98% of the votes the very first time. Let's welcome Cal Ripken Jr. What's going on, Cal?
Yeah, this was tough for me to figure out, this Instagram Live. So I'm glad I got to you. But thanks for having me on.
Well, I'm going to tell you this. If I didn't have a beer, I wouldn't be able to figure this out. I was concerned because this Instagram Live, Twitter, I'm not real good with it either. But I'm glad we got you on, man. I've been a huge fan of yours for a lot of years. And I got to tell you before I get started, I also made a lot of money off of you. Because I was a college student at Towson State back in the day, and anybody that knows me knows that part of my part-time hustle was scalping tickets. And the hottest ticket in the area was when Camden Yards opened up, the most beautiful venue in all of baseball at the time, and probably still is. I still love Camden Yards, but coming down on the light rail and working outside the stadium, man, when you were still playing at the time, it was exciting to be able to see you play. What's going on in your life, man? What's happening with you during this pandemic, and how have you guys been? How you been surviving?
Well, just like everyone else, trying to make use of your time, staying at home, trying to abide by the rules. We have a couple of businesses. Our kids' businesses are totally shut down, so we're trying to figure out how and when we can reopen them. The Ironbirds, our minor league team, looks like it's shut down for the year. So there's a lot of communication that happens through Zoom or through just normal conference calls, but it's a trying time. Today, though, I got a chance to get out in the sun a little bit. It's a beautiful day. I jumped on my boat for a little while, so I got a little bit of a sun.
That's awesome, man. So you've been keeping yourself busy. I know doing a little research, you've written over 30 books. I know you own some minor league teams. You stay really involved in baseball, obviously, with owning a few of the minor league teams here in the area. What else are you doing besides that to stay busy?
Well, it is interesting when you retire at 41, and I had a long career, played 21 years. A lot of people think just stay in your pajamas, go play golf. If you saved your money well enough, then you can just have fun. But that lasts for about a week or 10 days, and then you say, I got to do something. And I always looked at an opportunity to learn and have another career. Right. So in some ways, I started my business career giving everybody a 20-year head start or so. But I like doing things. I like being busy. What takes up a lot of my time now that we're really proud of is we're getting ready to scale our kids business. So we have 4 complexes now. We have the one in Aberdeen, one in Myrtle Beach, one in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, and we just agreed to do the baseball, softball programming down at Disney in Orlando. So that's a big thing for us, and we're looking now to scale that, and so that's fun. And the other thing that takes a lot of my time is we started a foundation in the name of my dad, the Cal Ripken Jr. Foundation. Right. That we have a wonderful board. It's a national foundation. We're helping each year. We help at least 1.5 million kids. And we're building these youth development parks all over the place, which serve as outdoor classrooms. Really, the community really embraces them and protects them so the kids have a safe place to learn.
Well, again, the foundation is huge because I know the job that football and growing up with the Boys and Girls Club, for me, what it played in my development. I know there's so many things that can be learned through sports. And to see the family, you guys continue to carry the family tradition and name on of doing baseball all throughout the country is great to hear. Now, part of my tie to you, because there's always like 1 degree of separation, is these legendary basketball games. Now, I know you're a huge Terps fan, which is why I like having you on. I've seen you at a bunch of the basketball games, and I'm there as well. I grew up diehard Terp, Maryland, everything, and having a chance to see you at a bunch of the basketball games. But I played football and basketball in college at Towson, and I played with a guy, Chuck Lightning. I know Pat Manning also was on our team there. And they talk about these legendary basketball games that you used to have. You still shooting a rock? You still shooting a 3? Where you are with the basketball game these days?
No, I stopped playing. My knee was filling up with fluid, and I've been playing for a while. I decided I was going to do something a little easier. So I don't lace them up anymore. I don't play. It's kind of funny is I can see Chuck Lightning exaggerating a little bit on our legendary games. But pretty straight guy, so I would imagine he tells it like it is. But we had a lot of fun. I mean, Chuck was a super talented guy, could jump out of the gym. It was fun grabbing those caliber players to come out to the gym and play. And without that basketball in the off season, that's what I used to stay in shape and get in shape. And that really helped me. I used to always say that your basketball legs are good for baseball, but your baseball legs, it took me 2 or 3 weeks to get my basketball legs again. So as we're watching Jordan's documentary now, we were at a point where he came back from baseball and things weren't working as good, his legs are being in shape. It took him a while to get back to being the great player that he is.
Yeah, that basketball shape is a little different. It's the same thing transitioning from football shape to basketball shape. It's kind of like getting your sea legs underneath you. Let's switch over to baseball real quick. I mean, your thoughts on bringing baseball back. I know you came out a week or 2 ago. You talked about not necessarily needing to have a clubhouse. The camaraderie of how it's being played is a little different now than when you played. What's your thoughts on bringing baseball back and with some of the things we've read about the last couple of days? What's your thought on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's really exciting that, first of all, I want baseball back in any way, shape, or form. And I think it does play a role in the recovery or the healing process. I know I was witness to it at 9/11. Our season got stopped. Perspective was given saying, okay, wait a minute, we just play a game for a living. That's not the real world. And then all of a sudden we come back. And the way that the fans embraced it, the way that they looked at it, it was sort of a comfort food. Is that this is our day-to-day. We look to be entertained. We want it, and baseball especially. You play every single day, so you get into a routine of checking on your team all the time. And to witness that, it was a tough time for all of us to come back. But we did play. Baseball did play a role, and sports plays a role in the healing process. So number one, I want it back in any way, shape, or form. There's going to be some challenges that they have to get over, and playing in an empty stadium is a challenge. And but when you think back to your amateur days, you played in front of very few people, and competition still is as intense. When you're facing a pitcher that's throwing 98 miles an hour, and he's breaking off curveballs on you, and you got the bases loaded with a chance to win the game, your concentration is at that level as if 50,000 people were out in the stand screaming for you.
Yeah, I agree. Anytime you're playing a different color jersey, you really don't pay a lot of attention to who's in the stand, especially when you're playing at a high level like playing at the major league. Now, we're coming up on the 25th year anniversary of the Ironman record, man. And to witness that, it was electric. And I was outside the stadium and actually came inside for that one. Talk a little bit about just 25 years ago, September 6th, I think was the date. You still have emotions about that? Because I'm going to tell you, that was one of the most emotional kind of farewell, congratulatory kind of deals I've ever witnessed in the sports scene.
Yeah, you just made me cry, man. I had to wipe the tear away from my eye. No, it's still pretty emotional because there's moments in there that trigger, those sorts of feelings. It is looking back and 25 years ago, man, the time has flown by. It doesn't seem like it's that long ago, but it is really interesting. Everybody could relate to a work ethic or showing up every day. So the coolest part of that whole thing, the celebration, was not that I was breaking Lou Gehrig's record, is that everybody was telling me about their streaks and why it's important to them. And that sort of work ethic and people really relate to. So even in this hard times where we're supposed to stay at home and follow the rules and all that kind of stuff, it challenges you in the same sort of way that a streak would any other time. So you have to say, okay, let me win today. Let me win the day. And if I can win the day, then tomorrow will come. And the streak was created with that sort of attitude. And really, Dad used to say, you can't play tomorrow's game until it gets here, and you can't replay yesterday's game, even though you can learn from it. You just can't go back and replay it. So you might as well play today's game. And it was a good way of saying, focus on what you can do now. And I think that would be a good attitude now for everybody staying at home. This crisis is temporary, although it feels like the new normal, and it doesn't feel right now. It feels like Groundhog Day. But keep in your mind that it is temporary. And keep yourself sharp, keep yourself busy, and be ready to come back and control each one of your days the best you can.
Well, I can tell you, trying to lead a program through these fluid times and with all the what if we can do this, and it drives you crazy. And I'm going to tell you, the approach you talked about, like every day I wake up and say, this is the rule of what we can do today, because trying to figure out tomorrow with this pandemic and what you hear and whether we will play and when we're going to come back, it will drive you crazy. And one of the things we've tried to do is take that same approach you just talked about with our team, saying, this is what we can do today to get better as a team. We can't do physical things, but we'll do the mental things. And I think that's a hell of an approach. Before I let you go, I got to tell you, one of the funniest things I saw as I was reading to get information on you was your answer to stopping people from stealing signals. I thought that was on spot in terms of, obviously we've had to deal with the signal stealing gates with Houston and Boston and all these places, and you had a unique way of stopping that. Talk a little bit about that before I let you go.
In some ways, I'll talk about it. I think in some ways context is lost. When I see sound bites like that and said, Cal says the way you end that is just throw a ball up in here. The context is not that. When you're playing against a team that has a reputation for stealing signs, there are triggers and there are things that says, okay, they must be stealing our signs. So you can use that to your advantage by changing your signs pretty frequently so they don't get it all the time. But you can also mess with them. And when I see mess with them, put down a curveball, and you put down a curveball. The guy on second base, he's giving the signs to the hitter. He says curveball to him, but you've already said verbally, you throw a fastball up and in. Now, I'm not saying throw it at your head and hurt him that way, but I will tell you, when you're expecting an off-speed pitch and you're so sure about that and you get a ball up in here, it does feel like your life flashes before your eyes. And all I'm saying is that breaks the trust between the giving of the signs and the person receiving it. And then you turn it into your advantage. I'm not saying you got to be a bad I almost cussed on this. I'm not saying I almost dropped into a Chuck Lightning right there. I'm not saying you have to be the toughest guy in the field to do this. Just recognize what's happened, and I wouldn't even tell them, that we know. Just let that happen and let them try to figure out, man, It's not 100%. And then when you start to get them to doubt themselves, then you got the advantage. So I think perspective is necessary, and because people are going to look for the edge all the way in sports, and some people believe that it's your right to get on second base. I can look at the signs, and if you get careless, not putting down the right sign, I should be able to use that. And
Right.
so some people believe I never gave a sign, I never received a sign from second base, and so it was just a way that I thought my competition was between the pitcher and me, not between the pitcher and me and the guy on second. So I always thought that was the way of the game. But there are many, many people in the game that don't feel that way.
Well, again, man, I just checked off something off my bucket list. Having a chance to speak to the Hall of Famer, a guy that as a kid grew up watching, man. It seems like just yesterday you were breaking that thing. You talk about 25 years ago, and it did go fast because it seems like just yesterday to me. Congratulations on your post-career business ventures. The best of luck, and hopefully we'll get you down to see a Turk football game. I know you come follow the basketball. We got to get you out to come see a football game as we keep improving this program.
I'd love to. When we get back to normal, the way that we look normal, we can go out there to the games. I'd love to come see you.
Perfect. Thanks for coming on, Cal. Much appreciated, and good luck with everything.
Thank you.
Cal Ripken Jr., man, what an awesome guy. What an awesome opportunity for me to get to talk to a DMV legend, a guy, Aberdeen, Maryland, born and raised, local prospect. As I said, this area is just filled with great talent in all the sports. So great to have Cal on. We'll keep the show moving along. My next guest is a guy that I had a chance to recruit coming out of high school, St. John's College High School, and then had opportunities to coach him in the college ranks. And then most recently was the third-round draft pick of the Los Angeles Rams, the 84th pick of the draft, was a second-team all-SEC performer, was an all-Metro performer here in football, and a guy that, again, if it probably wasn't for injuries, would have been a guy whose name would have been called on the first day of the draft. Let's bring on no one other than Terrell Lewis. T. Lou, what's up, man?
What up, big dog?
I'm trying to stay busy, doing a little talk show, just, trying to do everything DMV. You know how I always love to rep the DMV everywhere I am, no matter where I coach. I always have love for this area, man. Talk a little bit about what you've been up to during the quarantine, because I know you're out in LA right now, but
Yeah.
What have you done during the quarantine? Hopefully doing things staying safe as well.
Yeah, lately I just been really just staying to myself, and I do the same thing every day, work out, go get treatment and stuff like that with people that I already know, so I'm already comfortable being around them, and for the most part, just kind of doing the same thing. That's why I kind of came out to LA now, to kind of get acclimated to where I'm going to be at, but also just get away, do something, relax.
Just to that time zone, too. It's a little different time zone. So how long have you been out in LA? Because I know you were here during the draft, right? Were you in Maryland during the draft?
Yeah, I was home. I just got out here yesterday, but I was just going to spend a week out here and then basically get back to going home and getting back to work.
Yeah. Well, let's go back to the draft. I mean, I had a chance to have a couple of your teammates on here before the draft, and I know you sent me a text, and I said, look, we're going to have to get you on the show, and I appreciate you coming on, by the way. But talk about the feeling, the emotion. I mean, I know the relationship with you and your mom and you and your sister and your grandmom, and just what a close-knit family you guys have.
Yeah.
Talk about what that emotion was like, hearing your name called in the third round by the Los Angeles Rams. What was that like for you and your family?
It was crazy. To me, it was more bittersweet, but then I know to my family and everybody around me, they were just happy just to experience that type of moment. But me personally, it was just like, even the anticipation of the draft, I didn't envision it being that way until it got to draft day, where I'm like, man, it's crazy. Like, you sitting there, you waiting on a phone call, then your phone may ring, and it may not be anybody that has nothing to do with the draft. So it's just like, make sure you don't have nobody calling you, texting you. So you just on your phone, just waiting for the call. So that was crazy. But then once you hear your name called, it was kind of just like a crazy feeling, like, okay, wow, this is it. And then I saw that LA area code, and I was just like, you gotta be kidding me. Like, that was crazy. But it's just a bittersweet feeling, just knowing, okay, where I wanted, like, as far as my dreams, my dreams as far as like going first round and things like that. But then at the same time, it's a great situation for me to succeed and go ball. And I'm in a great atmosphere, a great system. So it's a great feeling.
No doubt. Now, you played high school football here in the DMV in what I think is probably one of the most competitive high school conferences throughout the country. The WCAC year in, year out is one of the most competitive high school conferences there are. Talk a little bit about what it was like and how playing in the WCAC prepared you for the next level when you went to college.
I think honestly, playing in WCAC was kind of the best thing that I could have done, just because of the fact that when I got to Alabama, things weren't as hard as I really envisioned it all my life. Like as far as going down to the SEC, like people used to make such a big deal about how football is played down south, and I'm like, well, I played in WCAC, and I know it was hard playing against other teams, and then obviously playing at St. John's, we played a kind of a national schedule where we played teams like IMG, beat them 35-2. So I'm just like, I want to see what it's like playing in the South, and everybody made such a big deal out of it. Then when I got down there, you obviously see a bunch of dogs. You see a lot of guys, you're like, damn, okay, he's a hell of a player. But it's like, I've seen guys like that at home that just ain't pan out and ain't make it that far. So it was definitely challenging, but at the same time, it wasn't as challenging as I envisioned it going into it, where I was like, okay, the WCAC prepared me as best as possible.
Talk a little bit about your recruiting process, because it was weird for both of us, because we had the process where I can remember for 2 years recruiting you to Maryland, and then I show up when you show up as a freshman down at Alabama. And one of the things you texted me that kind of hit home after you followed the show a little bit was, man, just imagine what would have happened had you have been at Maryland and I've been at Maryland. Talk a little bit about the recruiting process for you coming out of high school, especially when it comes to Maryland. I've had a few other guys that didn't come to Maryland. As I tell people, this is a DMV show, but you always showed love for Maryland because you came to a bunch of the games for 2 years. You initially were a little upset with us because your junior year you came to summer camp and we had you in the little boy group and you felt like you kind of but we tried to make up for it. Talk a little bit about your recruiting process, man, and what that was like.
The recruiting process was definitely different. I think my recruiting process was unique in a way where it's like everything happened so fast in the blink of an eye, where I was really waiting on Maryland's offer, and then as I started getting better and my film got better, and once my film got out there, every school came in, and then it was like, damn, why Maryland ain't offered me yet? So then that's when like the chip on my shoulder came. But it was always like, you know what I'm saying? It was always like, I like you, I like, damn, what was the coach name?
Coach Edsel.
Nah, it wasn't Edsel. What was coach name? D-line coach. He coached at
Coach
Howard.
Coach Wilt. Chad Wilt.
Yeah, Coach Wilt, but it was the coach. He coached at Howard and he coached at UVA.
Oh, okay. Mike London.
Yeah, Coach London. Yeah, Coach London. I like Coach London and you guys. But then at the time when I was getting recruited and trying to make my decision, it was like the chip had already grew so much. We knew how much talent we had in the area, as far as like if everybody would have stayed home. That's why I feel like now looking back at it, like say if you was at Maryland now, like if you was at Maryland when I was coming out in our class, I think we would have probably really did something on some like Miami Hurricanes kind of deal, like kind of like what we had envisioned. But I don't think it was the right system for us to flourish and do everything like how it would be if you was head man in charge right now. So that's why as soon as I kind of saw that you was doing this talk show, I was like, we got to talk about this, just because the fact like we had so much talent coming out. And I know even just being on live now on Instagram where I see everybody talk about the talent in basketball, football, and in general, I'm just like, people don't even look at the fact that if you look at all the DMV talent that's successful right now, like, especially in our era, like I talked to not even just guys like me and Chase and Trey, but even like one of my old teammates, Cam Brown, that went to Penn State, guys like that, like Ellis and Jordan, people that kind of things didn't go perfectly planned where they went. But if all that talent would have stayed home, I know you would have been the guy that would have, you know what I'm saying, knew how to manage everything, manage everybody, and had them type connections with people where everybody would be happy.
Well, that is exactly what we're working on doing now. And you know, I know you're real familiar. We signed Ripken Jr, a St. John alum, much like you, in our last year's class, and we're doing our part. And it's good to have you on to talk about it because, again, with the talent that's in this area, even when you look back to the Bama team that won championship, the number of guys from this area that were down there, that if we all are here, and so we're all here now. And I know I've always been a big T. Lou fan, and you've always been great with me, with Locks, and anytime you're in town, you come by. But talk a little bit about just what St. John's has done personally from us. You know, you were part of one of the first class of guys that made the decision to go to St. John's, because at one point there was another school that I know you don't like to hear the name and talk too much about, but you decided not to go to that school and really had a chip on your shoulder about building the St. John program. Talk a little bit about making a decision like that, where you went against the grain and went to a program that maybe wasn't the built-in winner, but you played a part and helped laying the foundation.
Yeah, I definitely, when I made the decision to go to St. John's, it was a mixture of a lot of things where it was, DeMatha was closer to me, and they wanted me to come there too, but at the same time, financially, St. John's was helping me a little bit more, and football and basketball wanted me to play a vital role in their program compared to DeMatha, where I didn't really get as much love at the time, football-wise, as I got from basketball, and which was crazy because, I mean, I knew DeMatha basketball was real hype at the time, always will be, always has been, but they was looking at me more to play basketball. I'm like, I wanted to go to a place where I could play both and financially help my mom out the most. And St. John's gave me that opportunity, and then knowing their education and stuff like that, just felt like it was a great decision, knowing the Under Armour family was backing them. And at the time, it just looked like a place where, okay, they got the right pieces to help me get better. They got some guys in front of me, but I wasn't, early on, I didn't think, like, me personally, I didn't think I would even, like, in my head, I didn't know it would go that far until kind of once I started working out and getting better, getting stronger, then I was like, okay, I could really do something special. And then that's when I started kind of taking St. John's kind of under my wing as far as like, okay, I can kind of do something special at this program and kind of start something different. And that's even kind of what played a part of my decision in college, just because I wanted to go against the grain. And I felt like no matter what decision I made, it would have been going against the grain, whether it would have been like staying at home, it would have been a kind of go against the grain decision. But going to a place like Alabama would have been like a going against the grain decision too, because at the time you didn't hear about people kind of doing that. So,
well, I know this, having gone against you in practice, and we used to have a pretty good trash talking battles during practice back in those days. One of the things that always stood out was your freakish athleticism, really long athlete, that great pass rushing ability, really physical at the point of attack. Let's talk just real quickly before I let you go. What's the expectation for you year one? What's your thoughts going into the Rams as a rookie? Are you playing outside backer? Are they playing you at DN? What's their what kind of scheme are they playing, and where do you see you fitting in as a rookie?
well, the good thing about the Rams is it's basically just like Bama's system as far as they run a 3-4, so I'll be playing outside linebacker and defensive end and sub. So I'll be able to show off my same versatility. It's really like the system terminology-wise, it's a little different, but the plays and everything is really like the exact same. So even talking to the coaches right now, even in the virtual meetings, mentally, they're like, oh, yeah, we're not worried about you because you already kind of know the plays. It's just as far as you getting comfortable transitioning from the play calls being different words. So that's really been a smooth transition. And then just talking to my defensive coordinator, Coach Staley, he talked to me the other day, and his biggest thing is we want to show people basically the Terrell Lewis that people haven't got to see yet because of, you know what I'm saying, obviously the adversity I went through and injuries and stuff like that. But they they look at me as basically a guy that can come in, contribute right away, and compete. But obviously, just like Bama, nothing's going to be given to you. So as soon as we kind of get out there and can connect as a team together and just be out there together, they want me to show that, okay, I'm competing for a job and trying to start and play a vital role. Because that's what really talking to the defensive staff, they always say, we've been missing that edge component where a guy can kind of not only get pressure on the passer, but set the edge in the run game and kind of take that pressure off of Aaron Donald as well on the inside. So it's a great situation for me. That's why I'm just so excited, just being able to play next to a guy like Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey, guys like Ashawn Robinson. So I'm excited.
Star-studded defense, man. So I know one thing that you'll be able to do from the day you step on the field is rush the passer. And you talked about the adversity you faced with the injuries and still found a way to come back from the injuries, made huge plays in the championship run, the playoff game, as well as the championship game in 2017. I appreciate you coming on, man. It's always great to catch up with you. You know, whenever you're in town, man, stop by, come see me. Make sure you tell your mom and everybody we said hello, man, and be safe, all right?
All right, I will. Appreciate you. I'm going to come see you as soon as I get back home. I'm going to hit you up.
All right. Terrell Lewis, a.k.a. T-Lou, went by Terrell Hall coming out of high school at St. John's. And, man, what a great example of what the DMV is all about. A guy that, again, from a recruiting process, was a little late bloomer, exploded onto the scene as a senior, had everybody in the country recruiting him, kind of got caught up in that in-between, the change of staff here at Maryland. Didn't work out, but, again, a guy that, like I believe, feels that when we keep the top players here, right here at home in the DMV, that we'll give ourselves every chance to be successful. And, again, I want to thank Cal Ripken Jr. and Terrell Lewis for their time. And I want to again thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see you guys Tuesday night, another edition of Late Night with Locks. We'll see you guys soon.